Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast. I'm Caylynne,
And I'm Peiker.
and welcome back to Into the Looking Glass.
Yeah.
Today we are talking about Albert Fish.
Yeah. Hamilton Howard.
So you know more about this topic, so this is your topic today.
Okay.
So go for it.
Basically, his real name is actually Hamilton Howard Fish. He took the name Albert from his brother. After his brother died, I believe. He was born on May 19th, 1870, and he was an American serial killer. Also, he kind of was a cannibal. He exclusively ate children.
Apparently.
Apparently.
Well, I'm just saying, like, this
Oh,
is
no, he got the
news.
chair for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got the chair for this.
Yeah.
What he did was pretty messed up.
Okay.
He was literally called the Boogeyman.
Okay.
And he was like a I think one of his nicknames were the Werewolf of Wisteria and like the Brooklyn Vampire.
Mm-hmm.
There's a movie called The Gray Man, which is basically, it breaks down a little bit of what he did.
You said you wouldn't watch it again.
I don't like Fish I like Fish, but I mean, he's a very scary fella.
Okay, but do you want me to watch this on my own?
I think like it's a very, I think it's a low budget movie.
Okay.
It's a very messed up movie.
Okay.
Given what he's done. I mean, he literally killed and ate children.
Yeah.
He was a male prostitute in his youth.
Yeah.
And so his wife left him with his children. I think he had a few children. I'm not sure how many. I think he had like maybe 6. I'm not sure.
Let me just check.
Let's just double check how many children he had.
Arranged marriage, yeah, 6 children: Albert, Anna, Gertrude, Eugene, John, and Henry Fish.
Ah, yes. So he's got 3 confirmed kills, I guess. But he kind of claimed that he killed like between 9 and 100. Like it was a lot of people. See, back in those days, like the early 1800s, like the late 1800s, I should say. It was a lot harder to really track and trace these people.
Mm-hmm.
Because there wasn't really the capabilities that they had later on, like in the 90s and in the 1900s anyway. It was a lot easier to find people like David Berkowitz and Charles Manson and Ted Bundy, those fellas, because they could get like dental records and they could get fingerprints and they could get DNA and everything. So it could possibly be a lot more than they say.
Okay.
Which kind of makes you think that between 9 and 100, he could easily have done that.
Okay.
Because it would be a lot harder for the police or anyone to really track this fella and see what he actually did.
So roughly when did he start doing this? Like when he was still teen years or like adulthood?
I think he started eating the people more in adulthood after one of his friends ate a person, and he told him in a letter that he actually ate another person. And he decided, okay, he's gonna try it for himself.
Yeah.
So basically, I think for this person, for Albert Fish, it was easy pickings to get just a kid. I mean, they can't fight back. They won't be missed. You can just snatch one off the streets back then.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier for someone to just snatch a kid and just kill it and eat it back then.
Apparently.
Well, I think it's a lot easier to.
Okay, I get what you mean. Yeah.
A lot of kids go missing these days too.
Yeah.
But I think those days it was a lot easier to snatch kids because there was no CCTV cameras everywhere. Kids didn't have phones, and there wasn't like social media where people could advertise like, hey, or not advertise. Excuse me. Where people could like put up posters like, hey, this kid's missing. Can we please help and share? Which kind of made it a lot easier for people like Fish to snatch and eat kids. Yeah, so...
That's scary.
Yeah. So basically, I think one of his first victims actually wasn't a kid. I think it was because he was a male prostitute. He actually found another like 19-year-old boy, and I can't remember his name right now. So basically, Fish took this fella and he took him to a farm, into a shed, where he kind of like beat him up, bound him, and he cut off half his penis. Yeah, and he later on cauterized the wound and everything with, I believe, peroxide.
Yeah.
And he left him $10, and he was like, "Cheers."
Yeah, okay. Let's see, according to Wikipedia, a 19-year-old man named Thomas Caylynne. They began a sadomasochistic relationship, and it was not clear whether Fish forced Caylynne to do things, but the man was intellectually disabled, apparently. But in his confession, he implies, yeah. He took after 10 days. Fish took Caylynne to an old farmhouse, began to torture him. It took place over 2 weeks.
Wow, 2 weeks of just hanging there being tortured by this man.
Fish eventually tied Caylynne up, cut off half his penis. I shall never forget his scream or the look he gave me, Fish later recalled. He originally intended to kill Caylynne, cut up his body and take it home, but he feared the hot weather would draw attention to him. Instead, Fish poured peroxide over the wound, wrapped it in Vaseline-covered handkerchief, left a $10 bill, kissed Caylynne goodbye and left. Took first train I could get back home. Never heard what became of him or tried to find out, according to Fish.
That's pretty scary.
This is 1910.
Yeah. Okay, so it wasn't just kids. It was, well, obviously this guy was he wasn't mentally all there. I guess he was a little challenged. So
Still a kid though.
it's still a kid. Technically, it's a teenager kind of.
Yeah.
It's barely an adult. Yeah, but like you said, he was in a weird masochistic relationship with this fella. So Fish loved all the bad. I wouldn't say bad necessarily, but all the weird stuff. Like I know that he had this little paddle with sharp nails that he actually used to make his children paddle him with. Like they beat his butt with this nail paddle. And yeah, no, that's not even the weirdest part. Is he shoved like sharp metal objects like nails and needles and stuff up his urethra, and they all got lodged in his pelvic area. He also ate bits and pieces of his own feces. So
how did he not die?
It must have been the water.
No, like seriously, because I think I read something like he had
29 needles.
Yeah.
Yeah. It also inserted a wolf like a wick kind of thing up his butt, and he like just lit it.
Yeah, no, that is weird. Honestly, that is just, it's scary.
Yeah, but like I think after that, he kind of got into cannibalism. Yeah, so in 1919, Fish stabbed an intellectually disabled boy. See, now this is already telling me that he's preying on the weak-minded people, like the people that can't necessarily think or fight back, because it's easy game, which, you know, it's easier to snatch and beat a kid or someone that can't really fight back.
Yeah.
Because from what I've seen, he's not the most threatening person. Like, if he went up to a regular 25-year-old, 26-year-old man today, he would get his dick kicked in.
Yeah.
He might like it, but, you know.
Yeah, this guy, it seems like he would definitely go for this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so on July 11, 1924, Fish found 8-year-old Beatrice Keel playing alone on her parents' farm. He offered her some money to come with him to look for rhubarb.
Oh God.
Yeah. So he returned later to the farm where he tried to sleep, but was discovered by Beatrice's father and forced to leave. Yeah. So after that, a few days later, after that, he actually killed another person called Francis McDonald. Well, yeah.
But what happened with Beatrice though? Like, did they say anything? Like,
I don't think anything happened.
mm.
I don't think anything happened to Beatrice, to be honest. He gave up because he was told to leave
Okay.
by her father.
Yeah.
Because he was clearly stalking.
Okay, so she was fine.
Yeah, the boogeyman was stalking children back in those days.
Yeah.
I think yeah, he was 54 at this point.
Okay.
And he was suffering from psychosis.
Yeah.
And that he felt God was commanding him to torture and sexually mutilate children.
Was there anything to like say, hey, he had an abusive childhood, or anything that was so traumatic that was like, hey, this guy, he has these reasons?
I think his early life was a little weird. See, he was born in D.C., so he was born on May 19, 1870 to Randall and Ellen Fish.
Mm-hmm.
Fish's father was of English ancestry, and his mother was of Scottish-Irish American.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's got a little bit of stuff going on there. Fish was the youngest child. He had 3 siblings, Walter, Annie, and Edwin. He wished to be known as Albert after a dead sibling and escaped the nickname Ham and Eggs. Why was he called Ham and Eggs?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
That's very random.
That's very random. Yeah, that he was given in the orphanage. Oh, he actually grew up in an orphanage.
Oh.
Yeah, so Fish's family had a history of mental illness, which kind of explains the whole...
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, no. And people, basically, he didn't really have many skills, so I think he actually became like a painter. Like,
oh.
No, not like an artist, no, like
okay,
a painter, like house painting and stuff like that.
Still art in its own way.
Yes. Yeah, but his brother, I think, was one of his brothers was went to like an asylum or something, like because he went really crazy.
Wow.
And, like, yeah. Yeah. So
we don't know what why his brother went. Like, they're just like, yeah, you gotta go.
According to Wikipedia, Fish's family had a history of mental illness. Okay. His uncle suffered from mania. One of his brothers was confined to in a state of mental hospital, and his sister Annie was diagnosed with mental affliction. 3 other relatives were diagnosed with mental illness, and his mother had oral or visual hallucinations. Holy crap! So he comes from a long line of just mentally troubled people.
Yeah. Do we know?
It doesn't justify what he did at all. Like, I don't think that justifies anything. I think he deserved what he got at the end.
Do we know if, like, his kids that he had, obviously, with his first wife? Right?
Yeah.
Did they have any problems as well?
I'm not sure, actually.
This is a genetic thing. Then.
Yeah, then it depends, because the thing is, like, if both your dad and your mom have mental issues, then it's definitely gonna get passed through to the children. However, I don't think the Fish's wife had any real history of mental illness. Yeah, but another thing is, like, Fish wasn't a bad parent. I think he never hurt his children, unless they probably deserved it. I guess, like a spanking or whatever, like, But I don't think he abused his children at all. He made them eat raw meat, which was kind of not so cool, because salmonella is a big thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think there was anything really out of the ordinary with his kids.
Okay.
I think they kind of like wrote him off
Yeah.
after a certain age.
Probably.
And they didn't really want anything to do with him after basically the childhood that they did have. I don't think he was a great parent, but I don't think he was an abusive parent.
Yeah. I think it's like, hey, Dad's crazy. We gotta get out.
Yeah, gotta distance ourselves from this, or
Yeah.
So throughout 1989, according to Wikipedia, Fish worked as a house painter. Yeah, see. He said he continued molesting children, mostly boys younger than the age of 6. He later recounted an incident in which a male lover took him to a waxworks museum, where Fish was fascinated by a bisection of a penis. Oh, yeah. After that, he became obsessed with sexual mutilation.
Oh God.
So that's when the whole insertion of needles and sharp objects into the pelvis, into his urethra, anyway.
Yeah.
Started.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's pretty scary.
Mm.
So basically, after Fish got arrested and everything, and the trial and everything, he was basically sentenced to die.
Okay.
By the electric chair.
Yeah.
And so he actually got fried twice because of all the metal inside his pelvis. So basically, the electricity passed through his body, and the metal inside his pelvis kind of screwed up with the whole electrocution.
Yeah.
So they had to do him twice to make sure he's dead.
Okay.
Yeah. So
was it like signs of life? Obviously, like, hey guys, I'm still here, and then like, okay.
I don't think it was like, hey, I'm still here at all. I think he was like clearly like half dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, it caused like a little explosion, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Oh man.
Can you imagine being in that area watching this man get fried and just like
bang? No. Can you imagine having to clean up after that?
Oh my God! Just imagine the doctors taking that X-ray, after all this and be like, oh, that's why this happened. 29 needles.
Yeah, I think anyone who's listening to this, do yourself a favor and look up the X-ray for Albert Fish and
scary.
His needles.
It's very scary because it's all up in his pelvis. So basically, back to his victims and stuff. So basically, he chose the mentally handicapped people. Man.
Okay.
Or African American, as people would not be missed when killed. Yeah, that's actually horrible because back then, I think racism played a big part.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Like, no one cared if a black person went missing or a black child went missing because,
it would just be the families like, hey, my kid is missing, and then
the police would not care.
No,
the police would not care about this, unfortunately.
Yeah, they'd be like, yeah, so we can't do anything.
Yeah, and that's awful because, man, children are the purest thing in this world, and having this monster take them away, and just the police doing nothing about it is awful.
So he was targeting people of color, well, kids of color, people with a bit of a mental
disability.
Basically
the people that wouldn't necessarily be missed.
Yeah, and just young people in general.
Yeah. Awful.
Scary.
Very awful.
Yeah, God.
But in the movie the Grey Man, they mostly focus on Grace Budd, and it's one of the most disturbing ones in my opinion. Basically, he put an ad in the newspaper advertising that he's looking for young men to come work on his farm. He was basically pretending to be like this wealthy farmer that had worked for these young adults. Basically, he was luring children to come to him. And he got a call and everything, and he decided, okay, cool, let me go meet these people. And so he pitched up at the house and everything, and the guy was like, hey, I have a friend that's interested as well and everything, and he's like, wow, 2 for 1. Let me get both of these.
Okay.
But then he noticed Grace. So Grace came up and he's like, okay. He all of a sudden, I don't think he was interested in the young men anymore, because now he's got an easier target. Now Grace Budd is involved.
Okay.
So I think, yeah, she was shortly before his abduction of Grace Budd, Fish attempted to test his implement of hell. on a child he had been molesting named Cyril Quinn. Okay. Quinn and his friend were playing box ball on the sidewalk when Fish asked them if they'd eaten lunch. When they said that they had not, he invited them to his apartment for sandwiches. While the two boys were wrestling on Fish's bed, they dislodged his mattress. Underneath was a knife, a small handsaw, and a meat cleaver. They became frightened and ran out of the apartment. So basically, he purchased all these implements, these tools of fucking scary stuff, man, like the saws and stuff. He purchased the stuff before abducting Grace.
Yeah.
He kind of knew what he was gonna do.
Yeah.
So I don't think he was insane because he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, he brought like back to Grace now. He had to give this image that he's this wealthy farmer.
Yeah.
So he brought like cheeses and just fruits from his farm, like strawberries and stuffies, and just to sway the parents of the children.
Okay.
To give this facade that he's actually this farmer that has this legit farm and everything, and but he just bought this stuff at like a little grocer or something, and so the parents obviously believed that this man had a farm.
Yeah.
Because back then there's literally no way you could necessary check. You couldn't do background checks real quick. You can just Google this person, see, hey, is this legit? Isn't this legit?
Then you just ask around, like, hey, was this guy here?
Yeah, and he's from out of town, so no one knows.
Yeah.
Which is awful. So basically, he asked Grace if she wanted to come to his niece's birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that was a lie. And I think her mom was hesitant at first, but Grace was very... What's the word I'm looking for here? She was not demanding.
Excited about
She was
it?
excited to go.
Yeah.
And she was like, come on, please, let me go. And her mom was like, okay, fine, whatever. So Fish ends up taking this little girl. And they get on the train and they leave. And they go back to the house. And so Fish is like, Grace, go pick me some wildflowers outside. Awesome. So she starts picking flowers and everything, and Fish goes upstairs, and he gets undressed, and so after a little while, he calls Grace upstairs from the window, and he's naked. He gets into the closet and he waits for Grace to come. As soon as Grace comes in, he gets out of the closet and he kills her. Yeah.
Okay. I see that apparently police arrested a 60-year-old superintendent because they thought he was a suspect in Grace's disappearance.
Yeah.
He spent 108 days in jail between his arrest and trial on December 22nd, 1930. He was found not guilty.
Yeah. So according to the Wikipedia, I'm going to read this exactly from Wikipedia because this is the thing.
Okay.
On May 25th, 1928, Fish was classified saw a classified advertisement in a Sunday edition of the New York World that read, "Young man 18 wishes position in country." Oh, okay, my bad. I kind of butchered this. So it was the young boy that was looking for work, not Fish looking for young boys.
Okay.
So I had that mixed up. So I apologize to that for anyone that's listening. Yeah. So he basically, okay. So Edward Budd, 406 West 15th Street. On May 28th, Albert Fish, then 58 years old. See, he was a frail old man he wasn't frail, but he was an old man at this point.
Yeah.
He visited the family in Manhattan under the pretense of hiring Edward. He later confessed that he planned to tie Edward up, mutilate him, and leave him to bleed to death.
Wow.
Yeah. Fish introduced himself as Frank Howard, a farmer from Farmingdale, New York. He promised to hire Bud and his friend Willie, and said he would send for them in a few days. Fish failed to show up, but he sent a telegram to the Budd family apologizing and to set a later date. When Fish returned, he met Edward's younger sister, Grace. He apparently changed his intended victim from Edward to Grace and quickly made up a story about having attended his niece's birthday party. He convinced the parents, Delilah Flanagan and Albert Budd, the first, to get Grace to accompany him to the party that evening. The elder Albert Budd was a porter for the United States Equitable Life Assurance Society. Grace had a younger sister, Beatrice, two older brothers, Edward and George, and a younger brother, Albert Budd II. Grace left with Fish that day, never to be returned.
Okay. And then there was a letter.
Yeah, so that's kind of where he kind of messed up. So basically the letter Fish sent to the family basically explaining what he did. And yeah, so basically the letter was intercepted by the older brother.
Okay.
See, he could read. The mother, however, couldn't read.
But it was sent to her.
Yes. See, back then, not everyone had proper schooling.
Yeah.
So not everyone could read and write. So she asked him what it said, and I don't think he told her because, he's literally reading how his little sister was murdered and eaten. So basically the letter read, "My dear Miss Budd, in 1894, a friend of mine shipped as a deckhand on the steamer Tacoma, Captain John Davis. They sailed from San Francisco to Hong Kong, China. On arriving there, he and 2 others were sent ashore and got drunk. When they returned to the boat was gone. At the time, there was a famine in China. Meat of any kind was from $1 to $3 a pound. So great was the suffering among very poor that all the children under 12 were sold to the butchers, to be cut up and sold for food in order to keep others from starving. A boy or girl under 14 was not safe in the streets. You could go into any shop and ask for steak, chops, or stew meat. Part of the naked body of a boy or girl would be brought out, and just what you wanted cut from it. The boy or girl's behind, which is the sweetest part of the body and sold as a veal cutlet, brought the highest price." John stayed there so long he acquired a taste for human flesh. On his return to New York, he stole 2 boys, one 7 and one 11, took them to his home, stripped them naked, tied them in the closet, then burned everything they had on. Several times every day and night he spanked them, tortured them to make their meat good and tender. First he killed the 11-year-old boy because he had the fattest ass, and of course the most meat on it. Every part of his body was cooked and eaten except his head, bones and guts. He was roasted in the oven, all of his ass. Boiled, broiled, fried, stewed. The little boy was next. Went the same way. At that time I was living at 409 E 100th Street, rear right side. He told me so often how good human flesh was, I made up my mind to taste it. On Sunday, June the 3rd, 1928, I called on you at 406 West 15th Street, brought you pot cheese, strawberries. We had lunch. Grace sat on my lap and kissed me. I made up my mind to eat her on that pretense of taking her to a party. You said yes, she could go. I took her to an empty house in Westchester I had already picked out. When we got there, I told her to remain outside. She picked wildflowers. I went upstairs and stripped all my clothes off. I knew if I did not, I would get her blood on them. When all was ready, I went to the window and called her. Then I hid in the closet until she was in the room. When she saw me all naked, she began to cry and tried to run downstairs. I grabbed her, and she said she would tell her mama. First I stripped her naked. How she did kick, bite, and scratch. I choked her to death. Then cut her into small pieces so I could take my meat to my rooms, cook and eat it. How sweet and tender her little ass was roasting in the oven. It took me 9 days to eat her entire body. I did not fuck her though. I could have had. I wished. She died a virgin.
Gee.
Yeah. So at least he didn't have sex with her.
But still,
It's pretty fucked up.
it is.
It's very fucked up. And yeah.
God. Can you imagine now? You get this clue. Hey, here's a letter saying exactly what happened to your daughter, but the son is like, you do not want to know what happened.
Yeah, so he takes it immediately to the cops.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, like, they don't know this fella's real name because obviously he used a fake name, like he said. And now you get this note, and now the people are looking for this person, but they're looking for the wrong person because of his name.
Yeah. Also, I see in the letter that Captain Davison, the famine thing in Hong Kong, could not be verified.
Yeah, because we no one knew.
Yeah. This guy is just something else. Even the way he just wrote the letter, it's just... There's nothing like... I don't want to say charming about it, but it's straight up like a fuck you letter.
Yeah, it's like... he's taunting them. He's like, fuck you for letting this happen to your daughter.
Yeah.
He's like, you're bad parents.
Yeah.
But when he was working as a painter, he actually sent a letter to his neighbor as well. And yeah, he was very vulgar to this neighbor. He did not like her at all. And yeah, so that was kind of his deal. He just liked sending letters.
Yeah.
Because, you know, something in most of these serial killers is they like to, I wouldn't say send letters, but they want you to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very much a show off kind of.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, he never. He kind of like he never denied that he wanted to kill them. Like he straight up admitted like he wanted to murder these people and eat them.
Yeah.
He didn't fucking beat around the bush. He was like, I wanted to kill these boys.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I took the little girl instead. Which is worse in my opinion because she was so young, and it's just a whole big box of fucked up.
Yeah, no, definitely. So then did they catch up on him? Like, did he flee? Did he run? Like, what did he?
Basically, they kind of. I think they kind of they got him when he was getting his checks and stuff. He's for his pay as a painter. Yeah. Because his checks were being forwarded to his son's address at a point. So basically, he changed the forwarding address, and the police kind of they kind of went there because there was a lot of reports of Fish being a dick to his neighbor, and his neighbor's like, no, he's sending me these letters, right? And so basically, they compared the letters that Fish was sending her to the letter that was sent to Mrs. Budd, well, Grace's mom, and it was a match. So now they knew who they were looking for. Okay. But they didn't know where he was because he changed the forwarding address to his son. So basically, they set a trap for him, and he kind of fell into the trap. Yeah.
What was the trap, basically?
The letter was delivered in an envelope at a small hexagonal emblem with the letters NYPCBA, representing New York Private Chauffeur Benevolent Association. A janitor at the company told the police he had taken some of the stationery home, but left it at his rooming house at 200 East 52nd Street when he moved out. See, Fish was using that. That's the fella that the police investigated, and they're like, oh, we got the wrong fella. Right? So Fish was using this guy's stationery because it was already there, and it couldn't be traced back to him. Okay, so the landlady of the rooming house said that Fish checked out of the room a few days earlier. She said that the Fish's son sent him money, and he asked her to hold his next check for him. So basically, Fish was gonna come back for his last check because the lady was holding it out for him. So the police knew he was gonna come back for the check. So they waited for him to come back.
Jeez.
That's how they got him.
Okay.
So he waited outside the room until Fish returned. Fish agreed to go to the headquarters for questioning. They brandished a razor blade. King disarmed Fish and took him to the police headquarters. Fish made no attempt to deny the murder of Grace Blood, saying that he meant to go to the house and kill the brothers instead. Fish said it never even entered his head to rape the girl, but he later claimed to his attorney that while kneeling on Grace's chest and strangling her, he did have 2 involuntary ejaculations. That's fucked up. Because he's naked, and he was just strangling this little girl, and he's just,
Yeah, and from what we know, he did definitely probably rape other kids as well.
Yeah. Just this whole case is just so fucked up.
Yeah.
This information was used at a trial to make the claim that kidnapping was sexually motivated, thus avoiding any mention of cannibalism. I don't know why they didn't mention the cannibalism, because I think that played a bigger role in this than
just Grace.
Not just Grace, but it's bigger than just kidnapping and murder.
Mm-hmm.
Because his motivation clearly was to eat these people.
Yeah.
And to torture them, because he was into the weird masochism type stuff. So also, I think it'd be pretty scary for any parent to know that, hey, my child went missing a few years ago. They were probably raped and eaten. So
it's like a worse nightmare
for any parent. So I think it's easier to just ignore the whole cannibalism thing.
Yeah.
Awful. Very, very awful.
No, it's disgusting, really.
New York is a scary place to have been, I guess.
Yeah, no. It seems like in general, New York's scary.
New York's just scary. That's, I guess, why they say if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. Because you got fish running around, you got the satanic cults and everything. Berkowitz and his friends.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the trial lasted 10 days.
Wow.
So Fish actually did try to plead insanity. And claimed to have heard voices from God telling him to kill children. I think if God is telling you to kill children, it's not God. If God's telling you to kill anyone, it's not God, or your God's just, a dick. Religion is a poison.
I think any religion that's like, hey, you have to kill for this, it's not a good religion.
Yeah, no, definitely. Knowing what I know about it, it's awful, but just actually going deeper and deeper into it, it's just so much worse than you could have ever imagined.
It's a scary thing, and I'm glad that he is not around anymore.
Yeah, but the thing is, how many people like him are still around?
That's the thing.
That's the problem. Because every year, thousands of children go missing, and God knows what happens to them. They get sold into sex slaves, and all that. Yeah. During 2 days of the testimony, Fish's obsession with religion, and specifically his preoccupation with the biblical story of Abraham and Isaac. So basically, for anyone that doesn't know the whole Abraham and Isaac thing, God basically told Abraham to sacrifice his son to test his faith. And before Abraham could kill his son, God's like, no, hold up. It was just a prank, bro. It was just a prank. And, so he was obsessed with this thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So sacrificing the boy.
Yeah.
So basically, Fish believed that the similarity between sacrificing a boy would be penance for his own sins, and that even in the act itself was wrong. Angels would prevent it if God did not approve. So he's basically saying God wanted him to kill those children.
Wow. I don't think it works like that, my guy.
Yeah. Fish attempted to sacrifice one before, but was thwarted when a car drove past. Edward Budd was the next intended victim, but he turned out to be larger than expected. See, he couldn't take on this fella because he was much larger than him, and he was 58 at this point, and he couldn't fight back really.
Yeah.
Which is why he was snatching kids, because kids don't fight back.
Yeah.
Well, they fight back, but there's not much a 5-year-old can do compared to a grown adult.
Yeah.
Awful. Although he knew Grace was a female, it is believed that Fish perceived her as a boy.
That is odd.
That is very odd. The last question Dempsey asked Worthman was 15,000 words long, detailed Fish's life and ended with asking how the doctor considered his mental condition based on his life. "He is insane," they said. So they got two more psychiatrists to support this. So he went to jail. Where Fish was being treated. So he went to Bellevue Psychiatric Hospital in the 1930s, where he was treated, and Fish was abnormal but sane. Under cross-examination, Dempsey asked if corporophilia, urophilia, and pedophilia indicated a sane or insane person. Gregory replied that such a person was not mentally sick, and that these were common perversions that were socially perfectly aligned, that Fish was no different from millions of other people. Okay, so he well, we knew at this point he wasn't insane. He was just a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, after he was found not to be insane, they were like, "Hey, you're getting the chair for what you did, you sick fuck." They found him to be sane and guilty, and the judge ordered the death sentence. Fish arrived at the prison in March 1935. So 5 years after they knew he was sane, they killed him. Okay, so, 6 years. In March, okay, yeah, and was executed on January 16, 1936 in the electric chair at Sing Sing.
I just want to bring this up. I realized this is interesting. But the Sing Sing Correctional Facility, I think Berkowitz was briefly there too.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Very interesting, since like
I didn't know that we were
everything's just,
yeah,
paths cross.
Yeah.
So he was actually buried in Sing Sing prison cemetery as well. By the way.
Wow.
Yeah, his last words were reportedly, "I don't even know why I'm here."
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, bud, you kind of killed and ate some kids, man. I remember reading. It was like a creepypasta, I think. Basically, Fisher's attorney refused to release his last testimony because it was so fucked up.
Okay.
It was so horrific.
Yeah.
But basically, the creepypasta basically explained how he took this little boy and he whipped him. He tied him up and he whipped him with like sharp objects and stuffies. And then he basically cut the boy's belly open, put his mouth to the cut, and just like sucked his blood out.
Ugh.
Yeah. And he went on to explain how he went on to butcher and cook the boy.
Ugh.
Yeah, saving his penis and stuff, the sweet meats, as he'd say.
Yeah.
For last.
This is just, ugh.
It is awful.
Mm-mm.
It was just awful.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, so Billy Gaffney, age 4. That's I think the youngest that he went.
Wow.
4 years old.
So there are 3 known.
Yeah. And there's a few others.
And a few
I think it's like 6 suspected that he did kill, but they can't be sure.
Yeah. But he claims to have done a lot more.
Yeah.
But also, we spoke about this like a few days ago, but we forgot to mention it now. Before Grace's murder, his wife actually left him.
Yeah, his wife left him for another man.
And that's why the kids were left with him.
Yeah, he basically kept the kids after his wife left, because she just left.
And I think also he then briefly married another woman, but after a week he was like, bye.
Yeah, he's married for a week and it's like, this is not working.
Yeah.
Because he was probably making her eat raw meat too.
Probably.
And she was like, nah. Which kind of makes you wonder, maybe that's why his wife left, because this motherfucker is not completely all nice and, So, basically, So I'm just going to add what the Wikipedia says about his execution. So basically, he entered the chamber at 11:06 p.m. and was pronounced dead at 3 minutes later. He was buried in Sing Sing Prison Cemetery. Fish said to have helped the executioner position the electrode on his body. His last words were reportedly, "I don't even know why I'm here." According to one witness present, it took 2 jolts before Fish died, creating the rumors that the apparatus was short-circuited by the needles that Fish inserted into his body. These rumors were later regarded as untrue, as Fish reportedly died in the same fashion and time frame as others in the electric chair. At a meeting with reporters after the execution, Fisher's lawyer James Dempsey revealed that he was in possession of his client's final statement. The amount to several pages of handwritten notes that Fish apparently penned in hours just prior to his death. When pressed by the assembled journalists to reveal the document's contents, Dempsey refused, stating, "I will never show it to anyone. It was the most filthy string of obscenities that I've ever read." If your lawyer doesn't even want to...
Yeah.
And he's already dead. This
Yeah.
man is already dead, and he doesn't want to even let the public know what this motherfucker was actually saying.
No, then that's bad.
Ugh. Just this whole topic is just so awful, and it's just so... It's unpleasant. This is a very unpleasant case.
Do you think it really was just him alone?
You know, it might have been. It might have been.
Because in the letter he went on about, obviously, you know,
Yes,
hey,
his friend
my
as
buddy.
well. Yes, yeah. Yes. And the famine and everything can't necessarily be proved.
Yeah.
So, you know, it would definitely make it easier if it were 2 or 3 or 4 people snatching children at that time in New York. It's a very weird subject, I'm not gonna lie, and I see, I've drawn Albert Fish a few times because I find this whole thing very interesting but very disturbing at the same time. So
Definitely.
It's
I mean, even for me, it's just the horrible shit he did with kids, and then also the 29 needles, and I mean, this guy
being
was
paddled
just...
by his own children, like, you know, it's just, hey bud, come beat dad's butt. Here's the paddle.
with literal
Needles and nails and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not. That's not good. You know.
No.
It's cool to be into like BDSM and all that stuff. Like, I don't care. To each their own. Don't involve kids.
Yeah.
Don't involve the kids in your own shit. If you're making your child hurt you so you can get off, then something needs to be done.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I think at that point it's just like, shiz, guys, you know, because I mean, really, don't involve kids in this stuff. Don't involve anyone who doesn't want to be part of it.
Yeah, just this
is logic.
This whole subject of Albert Fish is just... It's weird to actually talk about it. Because I haven't really read... Well, not read, I mean... Not a lot of people really discuss it, I think.
Yeah. Because
of the nature of it.
I mean, I didn't hear about it until you were like, oh, look at this guy I drew.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah. It's very awful. And the worst part is this stuff is still happening today. Children are still going missing by thousands. The numbers have gone so much higher than they used to be.
Oh yeah, like people like Fish.
Yeah, there's definitely more people like this out there today. Pedophiles and cannibals, they definitely still exist. I mean, even there was a German cannibal, Armin Maiwis, who he met a fella on the dark web, and he's like, "Hey, I want to eat you," and this guy's like, "Hey, I want to die and be eaten," and that happened.
Yeah.
So, and this is 20th century stuff.
Yeah.
This is recent.
Yeah.
So people like Fish still exist today, but they're not. I guess we're not being told about it.
Not just that, it's just they're more hidden.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know,
They've adapted to.
I think, either they've adapted to it or, like in the David Berkowitz case, the government refuses to tell us the truth about what's actually happening. There's a lot of theories and there's a lot of stuff which I don't necessarily want to get in because it seems crazy.
Yeah.
I think Fish was a role model for a lot of people, which is horrible.
Yeah.
Very horrible.
I think he started the. I wouldn't say start, but he was one of the legends to like guys you should be afraid of, and people were like, I want to be like him one day.
Yeah, but like I think Fish was paving the way for a lot of these people because he was preying on the people that they weren't going to be missed. No one was going to be looking for these people. See, he was clearly smarter than a lot of people give him credit for.
Yeah.
Especially the age he was.
Yeah.
He was doing this. See, he wasn't a kid. He was an old man, and he was still getting away with this.
The Brooklyn vampires, they also called him.
Yeah, because back to blood. Like this guy was literally the bogeyman. He was literally the bogeyman. And just if you look at him, you'd say he's the fucking boogeyman. I mean,
no, you look at a picture of him and you're like, this guy is
creepy.
scary.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I like even if I had kids, I would not be like, hey, take my kid, just go for a walk.
Yeah.
Especially just the way he looks, but I wouldn't do that with anyone. But
the thing is, like, I think stuff like Albert Fish, I wouldn't necessarily say he was important, but I mean, it made parents more aware of stranger danger. Like, don't trust your children with just any old man that says, hey, I'm going here, you want me to take your daughter with? I really say that's negligent parenting.
Yeah.
On Grace's parents' behalf.
Yeah.
Like, that's awful. If you trust your child with some random person that you barely know, then I don't want to say that's what you deserve, because that's awful for saying.
So
just to clarify, we're not glorifying Albert Fish in any way, shape, or form.
Well, obviously.
Obviously.
Apparently one of the things he said is, what a thrill that would be if I have to die in the electric chair. It will be the supreme thrill, the only one I haven't tried.
Jesus. Yeah, I mean, he was getting spanked with nails and having wicks shoved up his ass and lit on fire. So...
another thing is, I always had a desire to inflict pain on others and to have others inflict pain on me. The desire to inflict pain, that is uppermost.
So now that you mention it, I actually remember now the 2007 movie The Grey Man.
Yeah.
So according to the movie, when he was in the orphanage, he was raised by nuns and stuffies like that.
Yeah.
So the nuns used to beat him.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah. So he liked it. So.
Oh.
So
okay.
From a young age, he kind of grew up with the whole, I'm getting punished, and I kind of get aroused from this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say the whole cannibalism thing came from there at all. Like he said, his friend sent him a letter and said, hey, I have grown accustomed to human meat. Maybe try it. He's like, I will try it.
Yeah, I mean, food is rare. As well.
Yeah. Like, but even, like, there's a lot of famines and stuff like that, and it does make sense. Especially in like Russia and stuff with like Andrei Chikatilo and stuff like that, meat was rare and you ate what you could get. So whether that be dog, cat, or child, or person, I wouldn't necessarily say child, people in general.
Yeah. Well, I think, is that all we have on him then?
Yeah, but it feels like we skipped quite a bit. Maybe in the future we'll do a more detailed breakdown of who he is and what he did. This was just a very broad look.
Rough.
Yeah, very rough look at who he is and what he did.
Yeah.
This is just the gist of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
But I think you should do like the David Berkowitz
Yeah, no, he's
documentary.
definitely on my list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where we get all the facts and everything 100% accurate. Because now I'm inebriated.
Mhm.
And I can barely read.
Mm.
And I apologize for that.
Okay.
I wouldn't say this was fun. This was not fun. This was not fun at all. Just recapping all of this.
Yeah, no, you don't want to talk about this stuff. Actually,
It seems a lot easier on paper.
I know it sounds odd, but the Berkowitz thing seemed a bit less threatening.
Yeah.
This is hectic. Like,
Yeah.
obviously Berkowitz is hectic, but
yeah, Berkowitz is like a 5 and Albert Fish is like a 12.
yeah. No, definitely. Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, okay. No, we'll definitely touch up on him again. I will also add into my documentary series. I'll dig a little deeper into him and everything. But yeah, I think that's it for now.
I think that's it for tonight.
Okay, then thank you to everyone who did listen.
Yeah.
And to everyone who is liking and subscribing. Thank you, that's actually helping.
To anyone who still listened to this point, we thank you.
You know. But anyway, this is us signing off. We hope you have an awesome week.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Stay safe.
Be vigilant.